I have to go!
What happened? Where are you going?
My terrible self. Why did you not tell me you were pregnant?
The cathedral smelled of white roses and money. Jae-Sung Moon stood at the altar in his custom Tom Ford tuxedo, the fabric so perfectly tailored it felt like a second skin designed to suffocate him. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, painting the marble floor in fractured rainbows that reminded him of broken promises. 500 guests filled the pews, crime lords in Brioni suits, politicians with practiced smiles, oligarchs who'd flown in from Moscow and Dubai. The organist played something classical and forgettable. Katerina Volkov stood across from him in a Vera Wang gown that cost more than most people's houses, her platinum hair swept into an elaborate updo that probably required 3 stylists and 2 hours. Her ice-blue eyes watched him with the patience of a predator who knew the prey had nowhere to run. She was beautiful the way a knife was beautiful, all clean lines and deadly purpose. The efficient droned on in Korean, words about unity and partnership, that meant nothing. This wasn't a wedding. It was a corporate merger with better flowers. Jay's phone vibrated in his inner jacket pocket. He ignored it. Madame Moon sat in the front row, her traditional crimson hanbok making her look like a queen holding court. Her eyes, so like his own, bored into him with an intensity that made his chest tight. She'd spent 28 years building him into this moment. The perfect heir, the obedient son, the man who would unite 2 criminal empires with a kiss and a signature. His phone vibrated again. Katerina's smile didn't waver, but something flickered in her expression. Annoyance, maybe, or suspicion. The officiant asked Jay to repeat his vows. His phone vibrated a 3rd time, then a 4th, 5th. Jae-Sung. Madame Moon's voice cut through the ceremony, quiet but sharp as a blade. Is something wrong? The entire cathedral fell silent. 500 pairs of eyes turned toward him. His hand moved to his pocket almost involuntarily. Every instinct screamed at him to ignore it, to finish the ceremony, to be the good son. But his fingers closed around the phone anyway, and he pulled it out with hands that trembled just slightly. 7 missed calls, 3 voicemails, 14 text messages, all from a number he deleted 6 months ago, but still recognized instantly. Selene Rivers, Nala's best friend. The most recent message had a photo attached. Jay's thumb moved before his brain could stop it. The image loaded, a hospital room, medical equipment, doctors in surgical masks crowding around an operating table, and there, unconscious, her deep brown skin slick with sweat and blood, Nala. His Nala. The text beneath the photo was simple. St. Mary's Hospital. Emergency C-section. Severe hemorrhaging, 20% survival rate. Both of them. You have 30 minutes if you want to say goodbye. The phone slipped from his fingers and clattered against marble. Both of them. The baby. His baby. Except it couldn't be his baby because he was sterile, had been since he was 15, since the illness that had kept him bedridden for 3 months, while Madame Moon personally oversaw his treatment. The doctors had been very clear. Irreversible damage. He'd never father children. Which was why, when Nala had told him she was pregnant 8 months ago, Madame Moon had shown him the proof. Photos of Nala with other men, medical records confirming his sterility, bank statements suggesting Nala had been paid by rival families to seduce him. The evidence had been overwhelming. He'd called her a liar and a whore and told her to get out of his life. She'd left without a word, taking nothing but the clothes on her back and the grandmother's necklace she'd never removed. He hadn't seen her since, but now she was dying. Both of them. Jae-Sung. Madame Moon's voice again, sharper this time. What is it? He looked up at his mother, at Katerina, at the 500 witnesses to his perfect life. Then he looked down at the photo again. Nala's face, slack with unconsciousness, beautiful even in crisis. The curve of her cheekbone, the braids he used to help her redo every Sunday morning, the full lips he'd kissed 10,000 times in darkened clubs where he could finally stop being the moon heir and just be hers. His voice cracked. He cleared his throat and tried again. I can't do this. The cathedral erupted in whispers. Madame Moon stood, her face a mask of controlled fury. Jae-Sung Moon, you will finish this ceremony. I'm sorry. The words came out strangled. He was already backing away from the altar, already turning toward the massive oak doors at the cathedral's entrance. "I'm so sorry. I have to." "If you walk out that door," Madame Moon said, her voice carrying across the sudden silence, "you are dead to this family. Do you understand me? Dead." Jae stopped, turned back to look at her one last time. She stood there in her crimson handbook, small and elegant and absolutely terrifying, the woman who'd raised him, fed him, taught him everything he knew about power and control and survival, the woman who'd poisoned him at 15 to make sure he'd always need her. "I understand," he said quietly, then he ran. His dress shoes slipped on marble as he sprinted down the aisle. Guests scattered, their shocked faces blurring past. Someone, Madame Moon's head of security, Kang, stepped into his path, massive and immovable, but Jae feinted left and ducked under his grabbing hands. Behind him, Madame Moon was shouting something in Korean, her voice rising to a pitch he'd never heard before. He hit the doors with both hands, slamming them open, and burst out into Seoul's afternoon heat. His Maserati was parked at the curb, keys already in his pocket because he'd known. Some part of him had known this might happen, had known Nala would find a way to destroy him even from whatever distance she'd put between them. He threw himself into the driver's seat and gunned the engine. St. Mary's Hospital was across the city. In Saturday traffic, 30 minutes was optimistic. He had 28 minutes left. The Maserati screamed through Seoul streets, weaving between cars, running red lights, the engine roaring like something feral. Other drivers honked and swerved. He didn't care. His hands gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white, and his mind raced faster than the car. The baby couldn't be his. The math didn't work, biology didn't work that way. Unless everything Madame Moon had told him was a lie. The thought opened up like a chasm beneath him, and he nearly rear-ended a taxi, swerving to avoid it. What if he wasn't sterile? What if the medical records were fake? What if the photos of Nala were doctored? What if 8 months ago he'd thrown away the only real thing in his life because his mother had convinced him it was impossible? His phone rang. Madame Moon. He declined the call. It rang again. Katerina. Declined. Again. Unknown number. He almost declined it too, but something made him answer. "Mr. Moon?" A woman's voice, professional, American accented. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen from St. Mary's Hospital. I'm calling about Nala James. We have you listed as her emergency contact. Is she alive?" The words ripped out of him, a pause. "She's in surgery. The placental abruption was severe. She's lost a significant amount of blood. We're doing everything we can, but you should know that her chances are... I'm 5 minutes away." "Mr. Moon, there's something else you should know. The baby is in critical condition. She's extremely premature, 28 weeks, and her vitals are unstable. We'll need parental consent for several emergency procedures, and we'll need to verify paternity for she." The word stopped him. "The baby's a girl?" "Yes. 2 pounds, 8 ounces. She's a fighter, but the next few hours are crucial." A daughter. He had a daughter. Maybe. Possibly. If she lived. If Nala lived. If any of this was real and not some elaborate nightmare his fractured mind had conjured at the altar. "I'm almost there," he said, and ended the call. St. Mary's Hospital rose ahead, a modern glass and steel structure that gleamed in the afternoon sun. He abandoned the Maserati in a no-parking zone, keys still in the ignition, and sprinted toward the entrance. The automatic doors opened too slowly. He squeezed through before they'd fully parted and nearly collided with a security guard. "Sir, you can't." "Nala James," Jae gasped out. "Emergency C-section. Where?" The guard's eyes widened, taking in Jae's disheveled tuxedo, his wild eyes, the desperation rolling off him in waves. "4th floor, surgical wing, but, sir, you need to..." Jae was already running for the elevators. He stabbed the button 17 times, then gave up and took the stairs, taking them 3 at a time. His lungs burned, his legs screamed. None of it mattered. 4th floor, surgical wing, bright lights and sterile white walls, and the smell of antiseptic that made his stomach turn. A nurse looked up from her station, startled. "Nala James," he said. "Where is she?" "Are you family?" "I'm her husband." The lie came automatically, easily, because it should have been true. Would have been true if he'd had the courage to marry her properly instead of hiding her away like a shameful secret. The nurse's expression softened. Or 3. But, sir, you can't go in during... He was already moving, following the signs, bursting through a set of double doors into a pre-op area where a surgeon in full scrubs looked up in alarm. You can't be in here. Nala James, Jay said. I'm her... husband? The surgeon's eyebrows rose. You're late. She's been in surgery for 40 minutes. We weren't sure you'd come. The words hit him like a physical blow. She'd listed him as her husband. After everything, after he'd thrown her out, after he'd called her a liar and worse, she'd still listed him as her husband. Is she? He couldn't finish the question. The surgeon's face was grim. We've managed to deliver the baby and stop most of the bleeding, but she's lost a lot of blood. The next few hours will tell us if there's been any organ damage. You should prepare yourself for the possibility that, no. The word came out sharp, final. She's going to live. She has to live. The surgeon studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. The baby's in the NICU. Critical but stable for now. Would you like to see her? Jay nodded, not trusting his voice. The surgeon led him down another corridor, through another set of doors, into a room full of incubators and monitors, and tiny, fragile lives fighting to survive. There, the surgeon said quietly, pointing to an incubator in the corner. Jay approached slowly, feeling like he was walking through water. Everything seemed distant and unreal. Then he saw her. So small. Impossibly small. She fit in the palm of his imagination, tubes and wires covering her tiny body, her skin almost translucent under the heat lamps. Her little chest rose and fell with mechanical assistance, each breath a miracle in a battle. But her face. God, her face. She had Nala's nose, Nala's full lips, but her eyes, still closed, and the shape of her face. He saw himself there. Or thought he did. Wanted to see himself there. Would you like to touch her? A NICU nurse appeared beside him, her voice gentle. Skin-to-skin contact can help stabilize premature infants. It might help her. Jay looked down at his hands, the hands that had thrown Nala out, that had signed business deals and broken bones and held Nala while she cried after nightmares. Could these hands touch something so fragile without breaking it? I don't know if I should, he whispered. She's your daughter, the nurse said simply. She needs you. He nodded, unable to speak. The nurse helped him scrub his hands, then guided one hand through the incubator's porthole. His finger, so large compared to the tiny infant, touched her palm. Her fingers closed around his. The world stopped. This impossibly small person, this miracle or mistake or cosmic joke, she was holding onto him like he was her whole world. And maybe he was. Maybe he could be. If they survived. If Nala survived. If any of them survived what was coming. Because his phone was buzzing again in his pocket, and he didn't need to look to know it was Madame Moon, and he'd just declared war on his entire family for a woman who'd allegedly betrayed him, and a baby who might not even be his. The tiny fingers tightened around his. Hello, baby girl, he whispered. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry. Behind him, somewhere in the hospital, machines beeped steadily. Nayla's heart. Still beating, for now. The NICU nurse's hand on his shoulder pulled Jay back to reality. Mr. Moon, your wife is out of surgery. She's being moved to recovery. You can see her in about 20 minutes. Jay nodded, unable to tear his eyes away from the baby. His daughter. Maybe his daughter. The uncertainty was a knife twisting in his gut. Does she have a name? The nurse asked gently. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't know. Nala had been pregnant alone for 8 months, had gone through this entire nightmare without him, had probably chosen a name while he was picking out wedding invitations with Katerina. Not yet, he managed. His phone vibrated again, then again. The buzzing was constant now, a wasp trapped against his ribs. He finally pulled it out. 43 missed calls, 68 text messages. Most from Madame Moon, some from Katerina, a few from numbers he didn't recognize. Probably Moon family associates, circling like sharks who'd smelled blood in the water. One text from Selene Rivers. ICU, room 4 and 12. She's asking for you. He carefully extracted his finger from the baby's grip, each millimeter of separation feeling like abandonment. I'll be back, he whispered to her. A promise or a prayer, he wasn't sure which. The walk to the ICU felt longer than the drive from the cathedral. His tuxedo jacket was wrinkled, the bow tie hanging loose around his neck. He caught his reflection in a window, hair disheveled, eyes wild, the perfect moon air completely shattered. Good. Room 412 was at the end of a quiet hallway. Through the small window in the door, he could see her. Nala. She was awake, barely. Her natural hair was pulled back in a messy bun, strands escaping to frame her face. The warm brown eyes he'd fallen in love with were heavy-lidded, exhausted but open, alive. An IV fed into her left arm, monitors tracked her vitals, and her skin had an ashen quality that made his chest constrict. She looked fragile. Nala, who'd never been fragile a day in her life, who dominated him in clubs and in bed and in every conversation that mattered. She looked breakable. He pushed open the door. Her eyes found him immediately, and something complicated passed across her face. Relief. Anger? Love? Betrayal? All of it at once. A storm of emotions he'd put there. "You came," she said, her voice rough from intubation. "Of course I came." He crossed to her bedside, then stopped, suddenly unsure if he had the right to touch her. "Nayla, the baby." The question cut through his attempt at apology. Critical but stable. "She's in the NICU. He swallowed hard. "She's so small." 2 pounds, 8 ounces, Nala said, and despite everything, despite the pain and exhaustion etched into her features, a smile ghosted across her lips. "The doctor said she's a fighter. Like her mother." The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Her mother, which meant he was acknowledging, Jay. Nala's hand moved on the bed, just slightly, an aborted reach. "We need to talk." "I know." He pulled a chair close to the bed, finally sitting. Now that he was here, now that the immediate crisis had passed, the weight of what he'd done, running from the wedding, abandoning Katerina, defying Madame Moon, was starting to settle on his shoulders like wet concrete. "Nala, 8 months ago, my mother showed me." "I know what she showed you," Nala interrupted, her voice gaining strength. "Photos, medical records, bank statements, all of it perfectly crafted to make you think I was playing you." "Were you?" The question escaped before he could stop it, and he hated himself for asking, but he needed to know. Nala's eyes closed for a long moment. When they opened again, they were wet. "Yes." The word detonated in his chest. "At first," she continued, her voice steady despite the tears tracking down her cheeks, "when I first came to Seoul, when we first met at the club, I was working for the Zhao family. They wanted intel on moon operations. They knew you frequented that particular club, knew your preferences. They paid me to get close to you." Jay felt something inside him crystallize and shatter simultaneously. So everything was a lie. "I said it first." Her hand moved again, and this time it found his, her fingers wrapping around his wrist with surprising strength. "Jay, I was supposed to seduce you, extract information, and disappear. That was the job. But then I actually met you, talked to you, saw you." She took a shaky breath. "You were so broken, Jay. So perfectly broken in all the ways I understood because I was broken too. And when you submitted to me, when you finally let yourself be vulnerable, I fell in love with you, the real you. Not the moon air, not the perfect son, the man who cried after the first time we had sex because you'd never felt safe enough to let go like that before." He remembered. God, he remembered. He'd been 25 years old and had never experienced genuine intimacy in his life. Nala had unraveled him completely that first night, and he'd broken down in her arms like a child. "I stopped reporting to the Zhao family after 3 months, Nala said. "Told them the operation was a bust. That. You were too careful. They threatened me. I didn't care. I chose you." "Then why?" His voice broke. "Why didn't you tell me about the pregnancy differently? Why didn't you explain?" "Because I was terrified." Fresh tears spilled over. "Jay, you have to understand. I knew about the poisoning. I'd found the medical records months before I got pregnant. Real records, not the doctored ones your mother showed you later." The world tilted. "What?" "Your mother poisoned you when you were 15, Nala said, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper, as if saying it too loud might summon Madame Moon herself. "Slow-acting toxin that damaged your reproductive system, made you sterile. I found the original treatment logs hidden in your family's private medical archives. I'm a psychologist, Jay, but I did my undergraduate work in biochemistry. I knew what I was looking at." His hands were shaking. "That's impossible. She wouldn't She did, because she wanted total control over the Moon legacy, wanted to choose who fathered the next generation, wanted you dependent on her for everything, including your ability to have children. The room spun. Jay stood abruptly, the chair scraping back, and walked to the window. Seoul spread out below, a city of lights and shadows where his mother ruled from her throne of poison and lies. You're saying I was never actually sterile? His voice sounded distant to his own ears. Not permanently, Nala said. The damage was reversible with the right treatment. I found the antidote formula in the same archives. I synthesized it myself and slipped it into your drinks over 6 months. By the time I got pregnant, your system had recovered enough to make it possible. He turned to face her. You drugged me. Yes. Without my knowledge or consent. Yes. She didn't look away, didn't make excuses. I violated your autonomy the same way your mother did. I knew it was wrong. I did it anyway because I wanted to give you a choice. She'd stolen from you. I wanted to give you back the possibility of fatherhood. You manipulated me. I saved you. Nala shot back, fire returning to her voice despite her exhaustion. Your mother poisoned you to control you. I gave you an antidote to free you. Those aren't the same thing, Jay, and you know it. You didn't give me a choice. Because you wouldn't have taken it. Her voice rose, triggering alarms on the monitors. You were so deep in her psychological control that if I'd told you the truth, you would have run straight to her. She would have convinced you I was lying, drugged you with something else, and we'd have lost our chance. A nurse stuck her head in. Everything okay in here? Fine, they said in unison, and the nurse withdrew with a skeptical look. Jay returned to the chair, sitting heavily. His mind was racing through everything he thought he knew, reassessing, recalculating. So the baby is mine. Biologically, genetically, yes, Nala said. But Jay, there's something else. Something I need to tell you before... The door burst open. Madame Moon stood in the doorway in her crimson hanbok, Kang looming behind her like a living shadow. Her eyes were cold fury wrapped in maternal concern. Jae-Sung, she said, her voice the soft, deadly tone he'd learned to fear as a child. Step away from that woman. Jay stood instinctively, positioning himself between his mother and Nala's hospital bed. Get out. Madame Moon's eyebrows rose slightly. Excuse me? I said get out. You're not welcome here. I'm your mother. I'm always welcome wherever you are. She stepped into the room and Kang followed, closing the door behind them with a soft click that sounded like a cell door locking. We need to talk about the spectacle you created at the cathedral, the shame you've brought upon this family, the alliance you've destroyed. I don't care about the alliance. You will care when the Volkov family retaliates, when Katerina's father decides that the insult requires blood payment. Madame Moon's gaze shifted to Nala, and something ugly flickered in her expression. All for this woman and her bastard child? Don't call her that, Jay said, his voice low and dangerous. What else would you call a child born from deception and manipulation? Madame Moon pulled out her phone, tapped the screen, and held it up. I have the DNA results right here. Would you like to see them? Jay's blood went cold. What? Did you think I wouldn't prepare for this possibility? I had Kang bribe a nurse to collect samples from the infant the moment she was born. Rush processing, very expensive, but worth every one. Madame Moon's smile was a knife. The results came back 20 minutes ago. She turned the phone toward him. Jay stared at the screen, at the official laboratory letterhead, at the percentages and genetic markers that might as well have been written in ancient Greek, for all he could process them in his current state. What does it say? His voice came out hoarse. It says, Madame Moon said, her voice dripping with satisfaction, that you are not the biological father of Nala James's child. Paternity excluded with 99.9% certainty. The words hit him like bullets. Not his. The baby wasn't his. Behind him, Nala made a sound. Not quite a gasp, not quite a sob. Something broken. No, she whispered, that's not... It can't be. DNA doesn't lie, dear, Madame Moon said sweetly. Unlike people. Jay's legs felt unstable. He reached back, gripping the bedrail to steady himself. But you said, the antidote. I never said the antidote worked, Nala said, her voice small and devastated. I said I gave it to you. I believed it would work. The formula was sound, the treatment protocol was correct, but She stopped, her breathing ragged. Oh, God. Oh God, Jay, I'm so sorry. So who? The question ripped out of him. Who's the father? I don't know, Nala sobbed. I swear to God, I don't know. I was never with anyone else. Only you. Always only you. Perhaps your memory is faulty, Madame Moon suggested. Perhaps there were nights you don't quite remember, drinks that tasted slightly off, men whose faces blur together. The implication hung in the air like poison gas. Jay turned to his mother slowly. What did you do? I protected my family, Madame Moon said simply. When it became clear that this woman had her claws in you, that she was using you for her own purposes, I took steps to ensure she could be discredited when necessary. A small amount of Rohypnol in her drink at a club she frequented. A carefully selected man who resembled you in the right lighting. A few hours neither of them would remember. The room tilted. You had her raped. The words felt like shards of glass in his throat. I had her impregnated, Madame Moon corrected, by someone other than my son, so that when she inevitably claimed the child was yours, we would have proof of her deception. I couldn't have known she'd actually fall pregnant from that particular encounter. These things are probabilistic, but fortune favors the prepared. Nala was making sounds now that barely qualified as human, deep, wrenching sobs that shook her entire body, setting off multiple alarms on the monitors. Jay couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't. You're lying, he said, but his voice had no conviction, because this was exactly the kind of thing Madame Moon would do, exactly the kind of chess move she'd make to maintain control. The DNA test doesn't lie, she repeated. Neither do the security camera recordings I have from that night, if you'd care to see them. Though, I warn you, they're quite explicit. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you all to leave. The nurse was back along with a doctor, both of them looking alarmed at Nala's deteriorating vitals. Mrs. James needs to calm down immediately or we'll have to sedate her. We're leaving, Madame Moon said pleasantly. She looked at Jay. Are you coming? Home, my son. Jay looked at Nala, who was barely conscious now, tears streaming down her face as the medical team worked to stabilize her. Then at his mother, who'd just casually admitted to orchestrating a rape to maintain family control. Then his phone rang. Katerina. Against all logic, he answered. Jay? Katerina's voice was ice and silk. We need to talk, in person. Bring your mother. St. Mary's Hospital has a lovely private conference room on the 6th floor. I'm there now with some information I think you'll find illuminating. Katerina, 30 minutes, she interrupted. Come alone or don't come at all. But if you value the truth, you'll come. She hung up. Madame Moon was watching him, her eyes calculating. What did she want? To talk, Jay said numbly. 6th floor, 30 minutes. A trap, Kang rumbled, speaking for the first time. Probably, Jay agreed, but she said she has information. About what? He looked at his mother, at this woman who'd poisoned him and controlled him, and apparently orchestrated sexual assault to maintain her grip on his life, and felt something inside him finally irrevocably break. About everything, he said quietly, about all the lies. Madame Moon's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Fear, maybe? Or excitement at a new challenge. Then we should go, she said. Together. After all, whatever concerns you concerns me. Behind them, Nala was being sedated, her sobs fading into drugged silence. The baby, not his baby apparently, but a baby who'd gripped his finger like he was her whole world, was 3 floors down, fighting for her life in an incubator, and somewhere on the 6th floor, Katerina was waiting with information that might destroy whatever fragments of reality Jay still clung to. He started walking. Madame Moon and Kang followed. None of them noticed the man in the hospital janitor's uniform, who watched them enter the elevator, then pulled out a phone and sent a single text message. None of them noticed the cameras that weren't hospital-issued tracking their movements through the halls, and none of them knew that on the 6th floor, in a private conference room, Katerina Volkov wasn't alone. The elevator doors closed, going up. The 6th floor was quieter than the rest of the hospital. Private suites, executive conference rooms, the kind of spaces where wealthy families made end-of-life decisions over catered lunch. The elevator opened onto plush carpet that muffled their footsteps. Tasteful artwork hung on walls painted in calming beige tones. Jay's hands were still shaking, not his baby. The DNA test said not his baby. But Nala's face when Madame Moon had dropped that bomb, The shock had been genuine. She hadn't known. Which meant either she truly believed she'd only been with him, or the Rohypnol had done its job so well she had no memory of. He couldn't finish the thought. Madame Moon walked beside him, serene as always, her crimson hanbok whispering against the carpet. Kang trailed behind, a mountain of violence in an expensive suit. They looked like a family. A perfectly normal family visiting someone in the hospital. Except nothing about the Moon family had ever been normal. Conference room C was at the end of the hall. Through the frosted glass door, Jay could make out shapes. At least 3 people, maybe more. He reached for the handle. Madame Moon's hand stopped him. Jae-Sung. Whatever happens in there, remember who you are. Remember who you belong to. He looked at her. Really looked at her. 56 years old and still beautiful in that severe, untouchable way. Red lipstick perfectly applied. Not a hair out of place despite the chaos of the last few hours. This woman who'd raised him, fed him, loved him in her own twisted, suffocating way. This woman who'd poisoned him at 15. This woman who'd had Nala raped to prove a point. I don't belong to anyone, he said quietly, and opened the door. Katerina sat at the head of a long conference table in her wedding dress, the Vera Wang gown somehow still pristine despite everything. Her platinum hair had been let down, falling in waves around her shoulders. She looked like an avenging angel carved from ice. But she wasn't alone. A man in his 60s sat to her right, sharp eyes, gray beard, expensive suit. He had the bearing of someone who'd spent decades giving orders and watching people die. To Katerina's left sat a woman Jay had never seen before, early 40s, Southeast Asian, wearing a doctor's white coat over scrubs. Her name tag read Dr. Phoebe Nguyen, Genetics. And at the far end of the table, looking exhausted but defiant, sat Selene Rivers, Nala's best friend, the woman who'd sent him the text that had detonated his wedding. Come in, Katerina said, her accent turning the words into something between invitation and threat. We have been waiting. Madame Moon swept into the room like she owned it, taking a seat, across from Katerina without being asked. Kang positioned himself by the door. Jay remained standing, suddenly aware he was still in his tuxedo, bow tie hanging loose, jacket wrinkled, looking like he'd been in a bar fight. Quite the dramatic exit from the cathedral, Katerina observed. Very cinematic. The guests are still talking about it. What do you want, Katerina? What I want. I want the truth. Same as you. She gestured to the older man. This is my father, Dmitry Volkov. I believe you two were meant to become family today. Dmitry Volkov didn't smile. Mr. Moon, such a shame about the wedding. My daughter was quite looking forward to it. I'm sure she'll survive the disappointment, Jay said flatly. Oh, I will survive, Katerina said. The question is whether you will. When you ran from that altar, you destroyed an alliance worth $500 million. My father's associates are not forgiving people. Is that a threat? It is a statement of fact. Katerina's ice blue eyes shifted to Madame Moon. Hello, Sarah. You look well. Prison red suits you. Madame Moon's expression didn't flicker. I have never been to prison, dear. Not yet, Katerina said pleasantly. But we will discuss that later. First, the matter of the baby. Jay's hands clenched. What about her? Dr. Nguyen? Katerina gestured to the woman in the white coat. The doctor opened a folder, pulling out several pages of densely printed text. Mr. Moon, I understand you received DNA test results approximately 40 minutes ago, suggesting you are not the biological father of the infant currently in the NICU? That's what it said, Jay ground out. May I see those results? Madame Moon pulled out her phone, bringing up the document. Dr. Nguyen took it, studied it for a long moment, then handed it back. This test is fraudulent, she said simply. The room went silent. Excuse me? Madame Moon's voice was sharp. Fraudulent, fake, manufactured. Dr. Nguyen pulled out another document. This is the actual DNA test performed on the infant at 1:47 p.m. today, using samples collected immediately after delivery and processed through St. Mary's Certified Laboratory. Paternity probability, 9.97%. Mr. Moon, you are absolutely the biological father of that child. Jay's knees went weak. He grabbed the edge of the table for support. That's impossible, Madame Moon said, but something in her voice had changed. A hairline crack in the porcelain control. What is impossible? Dr. Nguyen continued, is for a fraudulent test to be generated and delivered in under 30 minutes unless someone had prepared it in advance, which means someone knew there would be a baby today. Someone knew Mr. Moon would be at this hospital. Someone had a fake DNA test ready to deploy at exactly the right moment. All eyes turned to Madame Moon. She smiled. How dramatic. But you have no proof I had anything to do with... I have your emails to Pacific Rim Genetics Laboratory, Katerina interrupted, pulling out her own phone. Dated 3 weeks ago, requesting they prepare a negative paternity test for your son, with specific instructions to have it available today, between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m. You paid $50,000 for the rush service. Madame Moon's smile didn't waver, but Jay saw her right hand clench, the hand with the burn scar she always hid. I have no idea what you are talking about. You also have emails to Dr. Han at your private medical facility, Selene spoke up, her voice hard, discussing how to ensure Nala went into premature labor today. Specifically today, during the wedding. You wanted Jay to have to choose between the ceremony and Nala. You orchestrated this entire crisis. Lies, Madame Moon said flatly. We also have security footage. Dmitry Volkov rumbled, speaking for the first time. From the club where you claim Nala was drugged and assaulted. My organization owns that club. I have every second of footage from every night. For the past 3 years, there is no night where Nala James was assaulted. No night where she was drugged. Your story is fiction. Jay felt like the floor was tilting beneath him. So the rape never happened? There was no rape, Dr. Nguyen confirmed. The baby is yours, Mr. Moon. Conceived naturally approximately 8 months ago. But the medical records, Jay said, his voice barely above a whisper. You showed me the records that said I was sterile. Also fake, Dr. Nguyen said gently. Your actual medical records from age 15 show treatment for deliberate arsenic poisoning that damaged your reproductive system. But the damage was never permanent. With proper treatment, which based on Nala's research she provided, full recovery was expected within 6 to 8 months. The room spun. Everything Nala had told him was true. Everything his mother had told him was a lie. Why? The word ripped out of him as he turned to Madame Moon. Why would you do this? For the first time? Madame Moon's mask cracked. Real emotion flooded her face. Rage and something that might have been desperation. Because you are mine, she hissed, standing abruptly. Everything you are, everything you have, every breath you take exists because I made you. I spent 28 years molding you into perfection, and I will not watch you throw it away for some American whore who manipulated you with her psychological tricks and her... I love her, Jay said quietly. Madame Moon stopped mid-sentence. I love her, he repeated louder this time. I have always loved her. And you destroyed her because you couldn't stand that I loved someone more than I feared you. Love? Madame Moon spat the word like poison. Love makes you weak, makes you controllable. That woman had you on your knees. Because I wanted to be, Jay interrupted. For the first time in my life, I chose to surrender. Not because I was forced, not because I was manipulated. Because with her, I finally felt safe. Enough to let go. Safe? Madame Moon laughed, a brittle sound. You want to talk about safety? That woman got pregnant deliberately to trap you. She drugged you without consent, her own admission, to give you an antidote you didn't ask for. She is no different than me. She's completely different, Jay said. She gave me back something you stole. She gave me a choice. She gave you an illusion of choice? Madame Moon's voice rose. Do you think any of this is freedom? You are trapped, Jae-Sung. If not by me, then by her, by that child, by this ridiculous fantasy that you can have a normal life when you are the heir to a criminal empire. Then I renounce it, Jay said. The empire, the heir, all of it. I'm done. The silence that followed was absolute. Madame Moon stared at him like he'd stabbed her. You cannot be serious. I have never been more serious in my life. I am walking away, from the business, from the family, from you. If you walk away, you die, Madame Moon said, her voice dropping to that deadly quiet tone. The families we do business with do not accept resignation. You know too much. You are too much. The only way you leave the Moon Empire is in a coffin. Then I guess I will die free, Jay said. Kang shifted by the door, his hand moving inside his jacket. Stop, Katerina said sharply. Kang paused. Katerina stood, smoothing her wedding dress. Mrs. Moon, you seem to be under the impression that you still have power here. Allow me to correct that misconception." She nodded to her father. Dmitry Volkov pulled out a tablet, turned it around. The screen showed a split-screen video feed, multiple angles of what appeared to be a residential compound. Jay recognized it immediately, the Moon family estate. "What is this?" Madame Moon demanded. "This is live surveillance of your home," Dmitry said. "Currently occupied by 12 of your security personnel, 3 house staff, and your personal secretary. Also currently surrounded by 37 members of my organization. Well-armed, well-trained, waiting for my signal." Madame Moon's face went white. "You are attempting a hostile takeover?" she said. "I am preventing you from interfering with my plans," Katerina corrected. "You see, I never intended to marry Jae-Sung. The wedding was theater, a way to get close to your organization, learn your operations, identify your weaknesses. And you have so many weaknesses, Sarah." She pulled out another folder, bank records showing embezzlement from 6 different Moon subsidiaries, communications with North Korean arms dealers, evidence of human trafficking through your shipping operations, murder contracts with your signature, and my personal favorite, she slid a photo across the table, evidence that you murdered Jay's father 19 years ago. Arsenic poisoning, same as you used on Jay, but in much higher doses. Madame Moon didn't look at the photo. "You have nothing that would hold up in court." "Who said anything about court?" Katerina smiled. "I am going to release all of this to your rival families. The Zhao organization, the Tanaka Gumi, the Sinaloa cartel representatives you have been cheating for the past 5 years. I am going to let them know that the Moon Empire has been compromised, that their secrets are no longer safe, that their money has been stolen." "They will kill you for this," Madame Moon said. "They will kill you," Katerina corrected. "I will be safely in Moscow with my father by the time the information goes public. But you will be here, alone, defenseless, and very, very dead." Jay watched his mother process this, saw the calculations running behind her eyes, looking for an angle, an escape route, a way to turn this around. There wasn't one. "What do you want?" Madame Moon asked finally. "I want Jae-Sung to walk away," Katerina said. "Clean break, no retaliation, no vendettas. He disappears with his woman and his child, and you never contact him again. And, in exchange, I do not release the information. I do not trigger the gang war that will destroy everything you have built. I allow you to maintain your illusion of power for whatever time you have left." Madame Moon looked at Jay. "This is what you want? To abandon everything? To throw away your birthright for a woman who drugged you and a bastard child?" "She's not a bastard," Jay said quietly. "She's my daughter, and yes, this is what I want." Something in Madame Moon's face crumpled just for a second before the mask snapped back into place. For that brief moment she looked old, tired, defeated. "You will regret this," she said. "I regret nothing." Madame Moon stood, gathering her handbook around her like armor. "Kang, we are leaving." She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the handle, looked back at Jay one last time. "I did everything for you," she said softly. "Everything." Then she was gone, Kang following like a shadow. The door clicked shut. Jay's legs gave out. He sat down hard, his head in his hands, and felt tears burning behind his eyes for the first time in years. "Congratulations," Katerina said dryly. "You are free." "Am I?" Jay looked up at her. "Or did I just trade one prison for another? What do you really want, Katerina?" She studied him for a long moment, then sighed. "Honestly, I want my father's organization to fall. I want to be free too. But that is my problem, not yours." "Why help me then?" "Because Nala is innocent," Selene interrupted, speaking up, "and because Katerina knew what your mother was capable of. She approached me 3 months ago after she figured out Nala was pregnant, started gathering evidence. This whole thing, the wedding, the alliance, all of it, was just a way to get close enough to take your mother down." Jay looked at Katerina with new understanding. "You used me." "Yes," Katerina said unapologetically, "but I also saved you. You are welcome." Dr. Nguyen cleared her throat. "Mr. Moon, your daughter is stable for now, but she needs her father, and Nala needs to know the truth about the DNA test." Jay stood, his legs still shaky. "Thank you, all of you." He started for the door, then paused. looked back at Katerina. Why do this? Really? Katerina's ice blue eyes softened slightly. Because someone should get a happy ending, even if I cannot. Then she looked away, and the moment was broken. Jae left the conference room, headed for the elevators. His mind was reeling, trying to process everything. The baby was his. Madame Moon had lied about everything. Nala had told him the truth. Nala. He needed to get back to her. Needed to tell her the baby was theirs. Needed to... The elevator doors opened. A man stood inside, late 30s, handsome in a generic way, wearing hospital scrubs that somehow looked wrong on him. He smiled at Jae. "Hello, Jae-Sung," he said in English with an American accent. "We need to talk about Nala." Something about his smile made Jae's skin crawl. "Who are you?" "My name is Dr. David Sterling," the man said, "and I'm Nala's husband." The elevator doors closed. Jae's fist connected with the elevator's emergency stop button before his brain caught up with his body. The car jerked to a halt between floors, the sudden stop throwing both men off balance. Her husband? Jae's voice was dangerously quiet. "Nala's married?" David Sterling straightened his scrubs, still smiling that wrong smile. "For 3 years now, though we've been separated for the last 8 months. Funny how she didn't mention me." The hospital records listed her as Nala James, not Sterling. "She took back her maiden name after she left me. Can't say I blame her, given how things ended." David leaned against the elevator wall, casual, like they were discussing the weather. But marriage licenses don't expire just because someone moves to a different country and pretends their past doesn't exist. Jae's mind raced. 3 years married, 8 months, separated, which coincided exactly with when Nala had come to Seoul, when she'd met him, when they'd fallen in love, when she'd gotten pregnant. "You're lying," Jae said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. David pulled out his phone, brought up a photo. Him and Nala, dressed for a wedding, her in a simple white dress, smiling. Actually smiling the way she smiled in the photos Jae had on his own phone. The date stamp read 3 years and 2 months ago. "Cleveland, Ohio," David said conversationally. "Small ceremony. Just family and a few friends. She was finishing her PhD at Case Western. I was in my surgical residency. We were the perfect couple. Until we weren't." "What do you want?" "The same thing you want. To see my wife. To meet my daughter." The words hit Jae like a physical blow. "She's not your daughter." "Isn't she?" David's smile widened. "Nala and I were together right up until she left. Last time was, let me think. Yes, about 9 months ago. Right before she ran. Off to Seoul without explanation. Does the math work for you, Jae-Sung?" "Because it works for me." The elevator felt too small, the air too thin. "There was a DNA test," Jae said. "The baby is mine." "Oh, I heard about that test. Funny how there seem to be multiple versions floating around. Makes you wonder which one is real, doesn't it?" Jae's phone buzzed. Text from Dr. Nguyen. "Third DNA test just came back from independent lab. Results contradictory to first 2 tests. We need to talk. Now." His blood went cold. David noticed his expression change. "Got some bad news, did we?" "Here's what I think happened, Jae-Sung. I think Nala got pregnant with my baby right before she left. I think she panicked because she knew I'd never let her take my child to another country. So she ran. Found you. Seduced you with her little dominatrix act. Yes, I know all about that. She used to do the same thing with me, and convinced you the baby was yours. That's not... Then your mother got involved, with her fake DNA test saying the baby wasn't yours. So, what does Nala do? She has her friend Katerina commission another fake test saying it is yours. And now you're all confused because you don't know what's real anymore." David shrugged. "Meanwhile, I'm the actual father, and nobody's even testing my DNA." Jae wanted to punch him, wanted to grab him by the throat and slam him against the elevator wall until that smug smile disappeared. But David's words had planted seeds of doubt that were taking root in his mind. 3 years married. 9 months ago, the math did work. "If you're her husband," Jae said slowly, "why are you here now? Why not come forward earlier?" "Because I didn't know where she was until today. Do you have any idea how hard it is to find someone who doesn't want to be found, But then I saw the news. Mafia Heir abandons wedding for pregnant ex, and there she was, my Nala, in Seoul, having our baby. The elevator shuddered slightly, the emergency stop mechanism, straining. I want to see her, David said. I have that right. I'm her husband, the father of her child. You can't keep me from her. She's in recovery, she's sedated. Then I'll wait. David reached over and released the emergency stop. The elevator jerked back into motion, descending. But I'm not going anywhere, Jae-Sung, and neither is the truth. The doors opened on the 4th floor. David stepped out first, oriented himself, and started walking toward the ICU with the confidence of someone who belonged there. Medical personnel nodded at him. He was wearing scrubs, had a hospital ID badge clipped to his pocket. He looked like a doctor. Moved like a doctor. Jay followed, his mind spinning. Could it be true? Could Nayla have been married this whole time? Could the baby be... No. He'd held that tiny infant. Seen himself in her face. Felt the connection that went deeper than genetics. She was his. She had to be his. But what if she wasn't? They reached Nala's room. Through the window, Jay could see she was still sedated, her face peaceful in drug-induced sleep. A nurse sat beside her bed, monitoring vitals. David moved to open the door. Jay's hand shot out, gripping his wrist. Don't. I have every right. You have nothing until we sort this out. Jay's voice was steel. You want to claim paternity? Fine. We'll do another DNA test. Independent lab. All 3 of us tested. But until then, you stay away from her. David's expression hardened. You can't stop me from seeing my wife. I can call security and have you removed for harassing a patient. I'm a doctor. I have admitting privileges at this hospital. Do you? Jay pulled out his phone, dialed. Let's find out. Selene answered on the first ring. Jay, what's wrong? I need you to check something. A Dr. David Sterling. Claims to be on staff at St. Mary's. Can you verify? A pause. Keyboard typing. Then, no David Sterling listed in the hospital directory. No Sterling in the Seoul medical database at all. Want me to check deeper? Yes. He hung up, looked at David. You're not a doctor here. I'm a doctor in the United States. Credentials transfer. Not without paperwork, they don't. Jay stepped between David and the door. Who are you, really? David's smile finally faded. I'm exactly who I said I am. Nayla's husband, the father of her child. And I'm taking them both home. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. The threat hung in the air between them. 2 men, both claiming the same woman, the same child. Both willing to fight for what they believed was theirs. Then Nala's eyes opened. Through the window, Jay saw her turn her head, saw her gaze focus on the figures outside her door, saw the exact moment she recognized David. The heart monitor spiked. Alarms started blaring. Nala sat bolt upright in bed, eyes wide with terror, and screamed. The nurse jumped up, trying to calm her, but Nala was thrashing now, pulling at her IV, her stitches, trying to get away from something only she could see. Jay burst through the door. Nala! Nala, it's okay. I'm here. Don't let him in, she screamed, pointing at the door where David still stood. Don't let him touch me. Please, Jay, don't let him. Medical staff flooded the room. Someone pushed Jay aside. Someone else prepared a sedative. No. Nala fought them, her voice rising to a pitch that barely sounded human. He'll kill the baby. He tried to kill the baby. That's why I ran. That's why I left. He wanted... The sedative hit her bloodstream, her words slurred, eyes rolling back. Wanted me dead. Both of us dead. Please. She went limp. The room fell silent except for the frantic beeping of monitors. Jay turned slowly to look at David, who stood in the doorway with an expression of profound concern that didn't reach his eyes. She's clearly having some kind of psychotic episode, David said smoothly. Postpartum psychosis can manifest even after premature delivery. Poor thing, she needs psychiatric intervention. Get out, Jay said quietly. I'm a doctor. I can help. Get out, Jay roared, and something in his voice made the medical staff step back. This wasn't the polished Moon Heir. This was something older, something dangerous. David held up his hands, backing away. Fine, but I'll be back. With lawyers, with proof, and I'm taking what's mine. He left. Jay stood there, shaking, as the medical team worked to stabilize Nala's vitals. The nurse who'd been with her looked up, her expression troubled. "She's been having nightmares all day," she said quietly. "Kept saying someone was trying to hurt the baby. I thought it was just the trauma of the delivery, but what?" But she seemed genuinely terrified, like she was remembering something real. Jay's phone buzzed. "Selene." "Found him," she said without preamble. "David Sterling. He's not a doctor. He's a pharmaceutical sales rep from Cleveland. And Jay, he has a record." "What kind of record?" "Assault, domestic violence. Charges filed by Nala James 3 years ago, then dropped. Then filed again 6 months later. Also dropped. Then 8 months ago." "She disappeared," Jay finished. "She ran. Protective order filed, then she vanished from the U.S. database entirely." Selene's voice was grim. "She was running from him, Jay. He wasn't lying about being married to her, but he's not the loving husband looking for his family. He's an abuser hunting his victim." Jay looked through the window at Nala's sedated form. How many secrets was she carrying? How many wounds had she hidden while helping him heal his own? "There's more," Selene said. "I found social media posts. David was obsessed with having a child, kept pressuring Nala to get pregnant. When she refused because she knew what kind of father he'd be, things got violent. There's a hospital record from a miscarriage she had 2.5 years ago. Blunt force trauma to the abdomen." Jay felt sick. "So when she got pregnant this time," he said slowly, "pregnant with my baby, she knew he could never find out, because he'd kill her before he'd let another man raise what he considered his genetic legacy." Selene paused. "Jay, if he finds out the baby is yours for certain, Nala's dead. He won't let her live with another man's child." "Then we don't tell him? He's going to push for a DNA test. Let him." Jay's mind was racing now, pieces falling into place. Let him push. Let him think maybe the baby is his. As long as there's doubt, as long as he thinks there's a chance. "He won't kill her immediately," Selene finished. "Jesus, Jay, this is dark. My mother orchestrated a fake rape and tried to steal my child. Katerina threatened gang warfare to free me. Dark is relative." His phone buzzed again. Dr. Nguyen this time. "Mr. Moon, about that third DNA test." "What about it?" "It's inconclusive. The samples were contaminated. We'll need to run it again, but it will take 72 hours for a proper result." "No," Jay said, "don't run it again." "But sir, leave it inconclusive. Tell anyone who asks that paternity cannot be determined at this time due to sample contamination and the infant's premature status making genetic markers unclear." A long pause. "Mr. Moon, are you asking me to falsify medical records?" "I'm asking you to protect a woman's life by maintaining uncertainty. There's a dangerous man who cannot know the truth about this baby's paternity. Not yet." Another pause. Then, 72 hours of inconclusive results. After that, I'll need to retest. 72 hours is enough. He hoped. Behind him, Nala stirred, mumbling in her sedated state. He moved to her bedside, took her hand. She gripped it weakly, eyes still closed. "Jay? I'm here. The baby, is she? She's fine. She's perfect." He kissed her knuckles. "Nala, I need you to tell me about David. All of it." Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused from the drugs. "He'll kill me." "Not while I'm alive? He's killed before. His first wife. They ruled it an accident, but I found—" She stopped, fighting the sedation pulling her under. "Found proof, photos, letters. He murdered her for trying to leave. Made it look like suicide. Why didn't you tell the police?" "I did. They didn't believe me. He's charming, convincing. Everyone loves David." A tear slipped down her cheek. "Everyone but the women who know what he really is." "How did you get away?" "Faked a business trip. Took nothing. Just ran." Her hand tightened on his. "Found you. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt safe. But now he's found me, and he won't touch you." Jay promised. "I swear on everything I am, he will not touch you. You can't stop him. He's relentless. He'll wait. He'll watch. And the moment you're not looking—" Her voice broke. "Please, Jay, please take the baby and run. Leave me. Save her." "I'm not leaving you." "I'm already dead," she whispered. "The cancer—" Jay froze. "What cancer?" Nala's drugged eyes met his, And he saw the truth there, the secret she'd been hiding. Stage 4, she said softly. Ovarian. Diagnosed 6 months ago. I chose the baby over treatment. I have maybe 4 months left. 6, if I'm lucky. The world stopped. You're dying. I'm dying, she confirmed. That's why I got pregnant, Jay. That's why I manipulated you, drugged you, did all those terrible things. Because I knew I was dying, and I wanted— Her voice cracked. I wanted to leave something good behind. I wanted to give you a child, a chance at the family your mother stole from you. You're dying, Jay repeated, unable to process it. But the baby will live. She'll have you. She'll have a chance. Nala's eyes were closing again, the sedative winning. Promise me. Promise me you'll protect her. Even from David, even from your mother, even from me. From you? The cancer, it's in my brain now. Started having hallucinations last week. Paranoia, can't always tell. What's real? She was fading fast. Don't know if David is really here or if I imagined him. Don't know if any of this is— She went under. Jay stood there, holding the hand of a dying woman who'd given him everything while keeping the worst secret of all. His phone rang. Unknown number? He answered. Jae-Sung Moon. The voice was distorted, mechanically altered. You have something I want. Who is this? That doesn't matter. What matters is that I know about the baby. I know about Nala's cancer. I know about David Sterling. And I know about the 4th DNA test your mother commissioned. The real one. The one that shows the truth about who that baby's father really is. Jay's blood ran cold. What truth? That neither you nor David Sterling are the biological father. That baby is the product of artificial insemination using genetic material from the Moon family archives. Your mother created a designer heir without your knowledge. Nala was just the surrogate. The room tilted. That's impossible. The embryo was implanted during what Nala thought was a routine prenatal checkup at a clinic your mother owns. Nala never knew. You never knew. But the baby you've been fighting for? She's not yours, Jay. She's your mother's final masterpiece. Her perfect controlled genetic legacy. The line went dead. Jay stood in the hospital room, hand still holding Nala's, and felt everything he thought he knew shatter into pieces too small to ever reassemble. Jay didn't remember leaving Nala's room. Didn't remember walking to the hospital chapel on the 2nd floor, pushing through the doors, collapsing into a pew in the empty space. The stained glass windows cast colored shadows across the floor, blues and reds and golds that reminded him of the cathedral he'd fled from this morning. Was it still the same day? It felt like years had passed since he'd stood at that altar. His phone sat in his hand, screen dark. The mechanically altered voice still echoed in his ears. Designer heir. Artificial insemination. Not yours. He wanted to believe it was a lie. Another manipulation in a day full of manipulations. But it fit too perfectly with everything else. Madame Moon's obsession with control. Her willingness to poison, to orchestrate rape, to destroy lives to maintain her grip on the Moon legacy. Of course she'd create her own genetically perfect heir. Of course she'd use Nala as an unknowing surrogate. Of course she'd let Jay believe the baby was his just long enough to tear him away from Katerina and destroy the alliance. His hands were shaking, a door opened behind him. Soft footsteps on marble. I thought I might find you here. Jay didn't turn around. He recognized the voice. How did you know? Katerina sat down beside him, her wedding dress rustling. Up close, he could see it wasn't as pristine as he'd thought. Small tears in the fabric, a wine stain on the hem, the destruction of the day she'd planned, written in tiny wounds across expensive, white silk. Because this is where people go when they need to believe in something bigger than themselves, she said quietly. And you have just learned that nothing you believed was real. You know about the 4th DNA test. I commissioned it, Katerina said, 3 weeks ago, paid for rush processing, got the results this morning, right before the wedding. Jay finally looked at her. You knew the baby wasn't mine, and I still helped you anyway, yes. Why? Katerina was quiet for a long moment, staring at the altar with its simple wooden cross. Because the baby deserves better than to be your mother's puppet. Because Nala deserves to die in peace, not in terror. And because you deserve the truth, even if it destroys you. The truth, Jay laughed bitterly. Which truth? That my mother created a designer baby? That Nala is dying? That David Sterling is a murderer? That I'm not a father, just another one of Madame Moon's pawns? The truth is more complicated than that. How could it possibly be more complicated? Katerina pulled out her phone, brought up a file. Because the DNA test shows something your mother did not anticipate. Yes, the embryo was created using genetic material from the Moon family archives, but not the way you think. She turned the phone toward him. He stared at the genetic breakdown, the percentages and markers that meant nothing to him. Explain it, he said. The egg came from your mother's frozen samples, harvested when she was 30, stored for future use. Katerina's voice was clinical, detached. The sperm came from your father, also stored, from before your mother killed him. Jay's breath caught. So the baby is genetically your full sibling, Katerina finished. Your mother created a child with your father's DNA without his knowledge or consent. A daughter she could raise from birth, shape from infancy, control completely. Her do-over. Her perfect Moon heir. The chapel felt too small, too hot. Jay stood, paced to the windows, pressed his forehead against cool glass. My sister, he whispered. Genetically, yes. But, Jay... Katerina's voice softened. Genetics are not everything. You held that baby. You chose her. In every way that matters, you are her father. Except biologically. Biology is just chemistry. Love is what makes family. He laughed, the sound harsh. Love? You're talking about love? You, who orchestrated an entire fake wedding to take down a crime family? I know more about love than you think, Katerina said quietly. I loved Nikolai, my father's enforcer. We were together for 2 years before my father found out. He made me watch while he killed Nikolai, shot him in the head in our kitchen while I screamed. Then he told me I would marry who he chose, when he chose, or he would kill everyone I ever cared about. Jay turned to look at her. Katerina's ice-blue eyes were wet, though no tears fell. So yes, she continued, I know about love. I know what it costs. I know what people will do for it and what they will destroy in its name. And I know that the baby in the NICU, your sister, your daughter, whatever she is, she needs someone to choose her for who she is, not what she represents. She represents my mother's final act of control. She represents possibility, Katerina corrected. A child born from death and manipulation who can still choose to be good, who can still be loved, who can still be saved. She stood, moved toward him. But only if someone is brave enough to save her. I don't know if I can. Why not? Because, the word stuck in his throat. Because I'm so tired, Katerina. Tired of fighting, tired of lies, tired of being used. By my mother, by Nala, by everyone. Nala did not use you. She drugged me. To give you back what your mother stole. Katerina's voice rose, echoing off chapel walls. She saw you broken and tried to fix you. Yes, she violated your autonomy. Yes, she manipulated you. But she did it because she loved you and was dying and wanted to give you something pure before she left. She lied to me about the cancer. Because she knew you would make her choose treatment over the baby. Because she knew you would sacrifice a child to save her. And she could not let you carry that guilt. Katerina grabbed his shoulders, forcing him to look at her. She is dying for that baby, Jay. Dying so your sister can live. The least you can do is make it mean something. He wanted to argue, wanted to push back. But Katerina's words cut through his exhaustion and hit something deeper. Nala was dying. The baby was his sister. David Sterling was a murderer. Madame Moon was a monster. And he was the only one who could protect them. What do I do? He asked quietly. First, we secure the baby. Get her stable enough to travel. Travel where? Anywhere but here. Madame Moon knows she is in this hospital. David knows. And whoever called you with that 4th DNA test, they know, too. This building is not safe. We can't move a premature infant. She's too fragile. We can move her to a private medical facility. I have one prepared. State-of-the-art NICU, security, everything she needs. Where? Norway. Oslo. Far from here. Far from your mother's reach. And Nala? Katerina's expression softened. Nala has 4 months, maybe 6. We give her that time with the baby. Let her be a mother before... She stopped. Before the end. What about David? David Sterling will be handled. Something in Katerina's voice made Jay look at her sharply. What does handled mean? It means he will not be a problem anymore. Katerina! He is a murderer who has killed before and will kill again. He will not stop hunting Nala, will not stop until she is dead, and he has claimed the baby as his own. There is only one solution to that kind of threat. You're talking about murder. I am talking about protection. Katerina's eyes were cold now, the warmth gone. Do not. Pretend you are above this, Jay. You are Moon family. You know how this works. Threats are eliminated, permanently. I'm trying to leave that life. You can leave the life, but the life does not leave you. Not really. There will always be threats. Always be people who want to take what is yours. You can handle them yourself, or you can let others handle them for you. But either way, they must be handled. Jay's phone buzzed. Text from hospital security, man matching David Sterling's description seen near NICU. Security stopped him from entering. He threatened legal action. Suggest police involvement. He is already making moves, Katerina said, reading over his shoulder. How long before he bribes the right person? Steals the right keycard? Gets to the baby when no one is watching? Jay's jaw clenched. What are you proposing? I am proposing we move the baby tonight. Private ambulance to the airport. Medical jet to Oslo. Nala goes with her. She needs treatment anyway, and Norwegian hospitals are excellent for end-of-life care. She won't leave without me. Then you go too. What about Madame Moon, your father's organization? The gang war you threatened? My father's men are already dismantling the Moon estate. By tomorrow morning, your mother will be a refugee in her own city. She will have bigger problems than chasing you across continents. It was too fast. Too many moving pieces, too many ways it could fall apart. But what choice did he have? Stay here, and David would eventually get to Nala. Stay here, and Madame Moon would take the baby back. Stay here, and everyone he cared about would die. Okay, he said. When do we leave? 2 hours. I have people preparing everything now. Katerina pulled out her phone, started typing. My team will handle logistics. You need to be with Nala when she wakes up. Tell her what is happening. Get her agreement. And if she says no, then we have a problem. Katerina looked up from her phone. Because the baby goes either way, with or without Nala's consent. That child is not safe here. You can't just take someone's baby. I can do whatever is necessary to protect innocent lives. Katerina interrupted. And right now, that baby is the most innocent person in this entire nightmare. She did not ask to be created, did not ask to be your mother's genetic experiment, did not ask for any of this. But here she is, and someone needs to choose her. Are you going to be that someone, Jay? Or are you going to let her become another casualty of your mother's games? The question hung between them. Jay thought about the tiny fingers wrapped around his, the impossible smallness of her, the way she'd fought for every breath. His sister, his daughter, both, neither. What did it matter? She needed him. I'll talk to Nala, he said. Nala was awake when he returned to her room, staring at the ceiling with hollow eyes. The sedation had worn off enough to bring her back to consciousness, but not enough to dull the pain, physical or emotional, etched into her features. Is he still here? She asked without looking at Jay. David? Security removed him from the building, but he'll be back. He always comes back. She turned her head finally, met his eyes. Did you believe him? About being the father? No. But Nala, I know about the 4th DNA test, the real one. Her eyes widened. Jay, I know the baby was created using my mother's eggs and my father's sperm. I know she's genetically my sister, not my daughter. I know my mother used you as a surrogate without your knowledge. Nala's face crumpled. I swear, I didn't know. I thought, the whole time, I thought she was yours, our baby. I never would have, I know. He sat on the edge of her bed, took her hand. I know you didn't know, and I know about the cancer. She flinched. How? You told me. When you were sedated, stage 4 ovarian, metastasized to your brain, 4 to 6 months. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm sorry. I should have told you. Should have given you the choice to walk away before. Before what? Before I fell in love with you? Before I fell in love with the baby? Before any of this became real? He brushed tears from her face with his thumb. Nala, even knowing everything, the manipulation, the lies, The cancer, all of it, I would still choose you, both of you. Why? Because you gave me something no one else ever has. You saw me. Not the moon heir, not the obedient son, just me. Broken and desperate and barely human, and you loved me anyway. I didn't mean to fall in love with you, she whispered. It was supposed to be a job. Get close, get information, get out. But then you cried in my arms and told me about your mother and I. She stopped. I couldn't leave. Even when I should have. Even when I knew it would end badly. It doesn't have to end badly. I'm dying, Jay. Then we make the time you have count. He squeezed her hand. Katerina has a plan. Private medical facility in Oslo. Best care for the baby. Best palliative care for you. We leave in 2 hours. We can't just... We can. We have to. David isn't going to stop. My mother isn't going to stop. And that baby deserves better than to be fought over by people who see her as property. Nala was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. What about you? What do you see her as? My sister, my daughter, my responsibility, my choice. He leaned forward, pressed his forehead to hers. And I choose her. I choose you. I choose this, whatever this is, for as long as we have. Even though I'm dying, especially because you're dying, because every moment matters, because I've wasted so much time being afraid and I won't waste any more. She kissed him then, soft and desperate and tasting like tears and hospital antiseptic and something that might have been hope. When they broke apart, she was smiling through the pain. Oslo, she said. Okay, but Jay, if David follows us, he won't. How can you be sure? Jay thought about Katerina's cold eyes, about the word handled, about the life he was trying to leave but couldn't quite escape. Because I'll make sure of it, he said. It wasn't a lie. It wasn't quite the truth either. But it was enough. The private medical transport arrived at 11:47 p.m., pulling into St. Mary's Hospital's secure loading dock, where ambulances delivered the most critical cases. Except this ambulance was luxury disguised as medical necessity, a modified Mercedes Sprinter with a full NICU setup in the back, 2 private nurses, and enough monitoring equipment to sustain a premature infant through an international flight. Jay stood in the loading bay, watching Katerina's people work with military precision. They'd brought portable incubators, ventilators, warming systems, everything the baby would need for the 12-hour journey to Oslo. Mr. Moon? One of the nurses, a Norwegian woman in her 50s, with kind eyes, approached him. We're ready to transfer the infant. Dr. Nguyen has signed off on all the medical paperwork, but we'll need your authorization as guardian. Guardian, not father. Because legally, he was neither. He signed anyway. Inside, the hospital was quiet. Most of the staff on night shift, the hallways dimmed, only essential personnel moving through the fluorescent-lit corridors. Jay made his way to the NICU, feeling like he was walking through a dream. Or a nightmare. He couldn't tell anymore. The baby was awake when he arrived, her tiny eyes open and unfocused. She'd gained 2 ounces since this morning, still impossibly small, but fighting. Always fighting. Hello, little one, he whispered, his finger finding hers through the incubator port. We're going on a trip. Somewhere safe. Somewhere your grandmother can't reach you. She gripped his finger, that same instinctive grasp that broke something in him every time. I don't know what to call you yet, he continued softly. Your mother, Nala, she should name you. She earned that right. But until then, you're just baby girl Moon. My sister, my daughter, my impossible miracle. Talking to yourself is the first sign of madness. Jay turned to find Selene leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled into a messy bun, still wearing the same clothes from this morning. Shouldn't you be resting? He asked. Shouldn't you? She moved into the room, stood beside him, looking down at the baby. She's beautiful, looks like Nala around the eyes. Does she? Yeah. Selene's voice softened. Nala's going to be a good mom for whatever time she has. You know about the cancer. I've known for 6 months. Nala told me right after diagnosis, made me promise not to tell you. Selene's jaw tightened. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But she was so determined to give you this gift, to give you a child before... She stopped. I thought she was crazy. Selfish. choosing to die for a baby you might not even want. I want her. Even knowing she's not yours, she's mine in every way that matters. Selene studied him for a long moment. You mean that? Yes. Good. Because Nala's being prepped for transport right now, and she's terrified. Keeps asking if you've changed your mind. If you're going to leave her the way, she stopped again. The way I did before, Jay finished quietly, when I believed my mother's lies. Yeah. I'm not leaving her, not again, not ever. Even when she dies? The question hit harder than it should have. What? Even when she's gone, Selene said gently, and you're alone with a baby who's genetically your sister, who you'll have to explain all of this to someday, you're still in? Jay looked down at the tiny infant, thought about the future Selene was describing. Teenage years, questions about her mother, about her grandmother, about how she came to exist in this twisted, broken way. Yes, he said, well, even then. Okay. Selene nodded. Then you should know something. About David. Jay's attention sharpened. What about him? He's not just an abuser, he's connected. His family owns Sterling Pharmaceuticals, one of the biggest drug manufacturers in the Midwest. They have money, lawyers, political influence. If he pushes for custody, if he claims the baby is his, the DNA test can be fought, challenged, dragged through courts for years, and David has the resources to do exactly that. Selene's expression was grim. He also has a history of making people who cross him disappear. His first wife wasn't the only one. There were 2 girlfriends before Nala. Both died in accidents. Both had tried to leave him. Ice crawled down Jay's spine. Why wasn't he prosecuted? Money, connections, good lawyers. The usual. Selene pulled out her phone, showed him a news article. This was his second girlfriend. Rachel Kim, 28 years old, found dead in her apartment from an apparent drug overdose. Except Rachel didn't use drugs, never had. But somehow she had enough fentanyl in her system to kill 3 people. Jay stared at the photo of a young woman with a bright smile frozen in time. And the first wife? He asked. Emma Sterling. Suicide by hanging, they said. But Emma's family swears she would never. They found evidence she was planning to leave David. Plane tickets, new apartment lease, divorce papers drafted. Then she was dead. Selene's voice hardened. David inherited everything. $2 million in life insurance, the house, her family's trust fund, and he walked away clean. Jesus. So when Katerina says David needs to be handled, Selene said quietly, she's not being dramatic, she's being realistic, because if he gets his hands on Nala or that baby, they're both dead. I won't let that happen. How? Selene challenged. You're leaving the country, starting over, but David knows where you're going. He has access to travel databases through his family's connections. He'll follow. He'll wait. And when you think you're safe, when you let your guard down for just 1 second, then we make sure he can't follow. Both of them turned. Katerina stood in the doorway, no longer in her wedding dress. She wore all black now, tactical pants, fitted jacket, her platinum hair pulled back severely. She looked like what she was, a weapon. The jet leaves in 90 minutes, she said. But first, we have a problem to solve. David, Jay said. David. Katerina pulled out a tablet, brought up security footage. He is currently in a hotel 3 blocks from here, the Shilla Soul, presidential suite. He has hired 4 bodyguards, former military, heavily armed. He is not planning to leave without the baby. So we leave first. He will follow, track you, hunt you. Katerina's ice-blue eyes met Jay's. Unless we give him a reason not to. What kind of reason? Katerina tapped the tablet. New footage appeared. The hotel's underground parking garage. In 30 minutes, David will receive a call telling him Nala has agreed to meet him. Neutral location. Just the 2 of them. To discuss custody arrangements like civilized adults. She won't do that, Selene said immediately. She will not have to, because the person who shows up will not be Nala. Katerina looked at Jay. It will be me. That's insane, Jay said. He'll know immediately. Not if the lighting is poor, not if I wear the right wig, the right clothes, stay at distance. Katerina's smile was cold. Long enough for my people to acquire him. Acquire? Take him. Quietly. No witnesses. No bodies found in Seoul to complicate your departure. The implications settled like concrete in Jay's stomach. You're going to kill him. I am going to remove a threat. How I do so is not your concern. It is my concern, Jay said, because if you murder him for me, I'm complicit. I'm no better than your mother? Katerina interrupted. Your mother kills for control, for power, for ego. I kill to protect. They are not the same. Killing is killing. Then you are naive. Katerina's voice hardened. You think you can walk away from your life, start fresh, raise a baby in peace? You think the world works that way? It does not. There are predators, Jay, and prey. And occasionally there are people like me who hunt the predators so the prey can sleep safely. I didn't ask you to do this. No, but you need me to. Because you are too good to do it yourself, and that goodness will get everyone you love killed. She leaned forward. So I will do the dark things. I will carry the weight. And you will get on that plane with Nayla and the baby and live the life you want. But do not pretend your hands are clean. Do not pretend you did not know what I would do. That is cowardice. Silence filled the NICU, broken only by the soft beeping of monitors. There has to be another way, Jay said finally. There is not. We could go to the police. With what evidence? That he abused Nala years ago in another country? That we suspect he killed previous partners but have no proof? The police will do nothing. And while they do nothing, David will take the baby and Nala will die. What if we just run? Disappear completely? He will find you. Money can buy anything. Private investigators, database access, facial recognition, technology. 6 months, maybe a year. Then he shows up wherever you are, and this time, you will not see him coming. Jay looked at Selene. Is she right? Selene's face was conflicted. I hate that she is. But yeah, David doesn't stop. Ever. I've seen what he's capable of. If there was another way, there is not, Katerina repeated. So you have a choice, Jae-Sung Moon. Let me handle this my way or accept that everyone you love is living on borrowed time. The baby made a small sound, not quite a cry, more like a sigh. Jay looked down at her, at this impossibly fragile life depending on him to make impossible choices. If you do this, he said slowly, if you handle David, I need to know it's clean. No torture, no suffering, just quick, Katerina finished. Professional. He will not see it coming. He will not feel pain. He will simply cease to be a threat. It wasn't enough. Would never be enough. But what choice did he have? Okay, Jay whispered. Okay, what? Do it. The words felt like ash. Do what needs to be done. Katerina nodded once, already typing on her tablet. My team is in position. The call will be made in 20 minutes. By the time you land in Oslo, David Sterling will be a closed file. She left without another word. Selene watched her go, then turned to Jay. You know this makes you one of them, right? The people who solve problems with violence? I know. And you're okay with that? Jay looked at the baby again, at his sister-daughter who would never know what had been done to keep her safe, who would grow up thinking the world was kind because people like Katerina did unkind things in the shadows. No, he said quietly, but I'll live with it. They moved the baby at midnight, carefully, slowly, with 2 nurses monitoring every breath, every heartbeat. The portable incubator locked into place in the ambulance, monitors connected, warming lights adjusted. Nala was loaded next, still weak, still in pain, but conscious enough to reach through the incubator port and touch the baby's hand. We're going to be okay, she whispered, all of us. We're going to be okay. Jay wanted to believe her. The ambulance pulled out of the loading dock at 12:17 a.m. Airport, private jet, Oslo, a new life. Behind them, 3 blocks away, in the presidential suite of the Shilla Seoul, David Sterling's phone rang. He answered on the second ring. Nayla? His voice was eager, hungry. Baby, I knew you'd come around. I knew you'd see reason. Where do you want to meet? In the underground parking. Garage of an empty office building across town, Katerina Volkov checked her wig in a car mirror, adjusted the gun hidden beneath her coat, and smiled. Parking garage, she said, her voice pitched higher, softer, an approximation of Nala's cadence. Level 3, 30 minutes, come alone. I'll be there, David said. Nala, I love you. We're going to be a family again. I know, Katerina said and hung up. In the back of the medical transport racing toward Gimpo Airport, Jay held Nala's hand and tried not to think about what was happening behind them. Tried not to imagine David Sterling walking into that parking garage. Tried not to hear the gunshots that would never reach his ears but would echo in his conscience forever. The baby gripped his finger, and somewhere in the soul night, Katerina Volkov became a murderer so Jay could pretend to be innocent. The private jet was a Gulfstream G650, the kind of aircraft that didn't appear on commercial flight manifests. Inside, it had been converted into a flying medical unit. NICU equipment bolted to reinforced floors, medical monitors, oxygen systems, everything needed to keep a 2-pound infant alive at 40,000 feet. Jay sat in a leather seat that probably cost more than most people's cars, watching the nurses work. They moved with practiced efficiency, checking the baby's vitals, adjusting her feeding tube, making sure the portable incubator maintained perfect temperature and humidity. Nala was strapped into a medical gurney across the aisle, an IV in her arm, her eyes closed. Not sleeping, her face was too tense for sleep, but conserving energy. Every breath seemed to cost her. 4 months, maybe 6. The timeline kept circling in his head like a vulture. "We're cleared for takeoff," the pilot's voice came through the intercom. "Flight time to Oslo, approximately 11 hours. Weather is clear. Should be smooth sailing." The engine spooled up. The jet began to move. Jay's phone buzzed. Text from Katerina. "Package delivered. Problem solved. Burn this phone when you land. Package delivered. Problem solved. David Sterling was dead." Jay stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it. Pulled the SIM card from the phone, bent it until it snapped. He'd dispose of the pieces in Oslo, scatter them across the city so no one could ever trace them back to this moment. "Is it done?" He looked up. Nala's eyes were open, watching him. "You heard?" "I guessed." She shifted slightly, wincing. "David?" "Gone." She was quiet for a moment, then, "Good." The word surprised him. "Good?" "He killed 3 women, Jay. He would have killed me. Would have killed the baby eventually, either through abuse or accident when she didn't live up to his expectations. The world is better without him." "Does that make what we did right?" "No." Nala's voice was soft but certain. "It makes it necessary. There's a difference." "I'm not sure there is." "Then you're more moral than me, but I've been living with necessary evils for a long time. You get used to it." The jet lifted off, Seoul falling away below them. City lights stretched to the horizon, millions of people living ordinary lives, unaware that somewhere in their city a man had just been murdered to protect a baby he'd never met. "Do you think he suffered?" Jay asked quietly. "Katerina said it would be quick." "That's not what I asked." Nala met his eyes. "Does it matter? Would it change anything if he did?" "It would change how I feel about it." "Then choose to believe he didn't. Choose to believe it was painless and professional, and he never knew it was coming." She reached across the aisle, her hand finding his. "Choose the version of reality you can live with, Jay. That's all any of us can do." The jet climbed through clouds, through darkness, heading north and west toward a country neither of them had ever been to, toward a future built on blood and lies and impossible choices, toward whatever time they had left. 7 hours into the flight somewhere over Siberia, the baby started crashing. The monitors went wild, heart rate dropping, oxygen saturation plummeting, her tiny body going limp in the incubator. "She's in distress." One of the nurses, the Norwegian woman, whose name Jay had learned was Astrid, lunged for the incubator, her hands moving with practiced precision. "Suspected apnea episode. I need the ventilator bag." The other nurse, younger, Korean, moved fast. Equipment appeared. Astrid worked, her voice calm despite the chaos, calling out vitals, giving instructions. Jay stood frozen, watching his sister-daughter die. "Jay," Nala's voice cut through his paralysis. "Come here." He moved to her gurney on autopilot. "Look at me," she ordered. "Not at her. At me." He met her eyes, warm brown, still somehow full of life despite the cancer eating her from inside. "She's going to be okay," Nala said. "You don't know that. I know she's a fighter. I know she's been fighting since the moment she was conceived. I know," her voice cracked. "I know she has to be okay because I can't die before I get to hold her, really hold her. Not through incubator ports, but skin to skin, the way mothers are supposed to." Nala, so she's going to be okay? Nala continued, louder now, as if saying it loudly enough would make it true. Because the universe owes me that much. After everything, after the cancer and David and your mother and all of it, the universe owes me one moment of being her mother. Behind them, Astrid's voice. I've got a heartbeat, oxygen coming up. She's stabilizing. Jay's knees went weak with relief. Told you. Nala whispered. The crisis passed. The monitors settled back into their normal rhythms. Astrid checked and rechecked everything, then gave Jay a reassuring nod. Apnea episodes are common in premature infants, she said gently. Terrifying, but common. She should be fine, but we'll monitor her closely for the rest of the flight. Jay nodded, not trusting his voice. He returned to his seat, hands shaking, and stared out the window at the darkness. They were flying over nothing now, just endless Siberian wilderness, thousands of miles of frozen emptiness where no one lived and nothing grew. It felt appropriate. His phone buzzed again. Different phone, the new one Katerina had provided, completely clean, untraceable. Text from an unknown number. You think you've escaped? You haven't. Jay's blood went cold. Another text. Your mother knows where you're going. She has people in Oslo. You'll never be safe. Then, and the baby isn't the only one with moon blood. There are others, waiting, watching. He stared at the messages, his mind racing. Madame Moon wouldn't give up this easily. Of course she wouldn't. She'd spent 28 years building him into her perfect heir. She wouldn't just let him walk away. But the messages didn't sound like her. The tone was wrong. Too direct, too threatening. Another text. Check the babies. Medical chart. The real one. The one Katerina doesn't want you to see. Jay looked toward the nurses. Both were occupied with routine checks, their backs turned. He stood, moved quietly to the medical station where they kept the files, found the baby's chart, opened it. There, stapled inside the back cover, a document he'd never seen before. Laboratory results, genetic screening, dated 3 days ago. His eyes scanned the page, medical terminology blurring together until he hit the summary. Subject exhibits genetic markers consistent with Tay-Sachs disease. Prognosis, progressive neurological deterioration beginning at approximately 6 months of age. Life expectancy, 3 to 5 years with intensive care. No cure currently available. The chart slipped from his hands. Tay-Sachs, a death sentence. The baby would develop normally for a few months, then start deteriorating. Lose the ability to move, to see, to swallow. Die slowly, painfully, inevitably. 3 to 5 years. Less time than Nayla had. You weren't supposed to see that. He spun. Katerina stood in the jet's doorway. When had she boarded? He'd thought she stayed in Seoul, wearing the same black tactical clothes, her expression unreadable. When did you get here? Jay asked. I was always here, in the forward cabin, waiting. She moved toward him, took the chart from where it had fallen, closed it. I was going to tell you, eventually. The baby is dying. Yes. And you knew. I commissioned the full genetic screening when I ordered the paternity tests. I wanted all the information. Why didn't you tell me? Katerina was quiet for a long moment. Because you needed hope. Because Nala needed hope. Because that baby deserves to live whatever life she has without everyone looking at her like she is already dead. But she is dying. We are all dying, Katerina interrupted. Nala has months. The baby has years. You and I have decades if we are lucky. The timeline does not change what matters. Of course, it changes what matters. Jay's voice rose. The nurses looked over, concerned. He lowered his voice. She's going to suffer for years, and there's nothing we can do. No, there's nothing we can do to stop it, but there is everything we can do to make those years beautiful. Katerina's ice blue eyes softened slightly. Nala will get to be a mother. You will get to be a father. That baby will be loved completely for every moment she has. That is not nothing, Jay. That is everything. He wanted to argue, wanted to rage against the unfairness of it all. A baby created from his mother's manipulation. A baby who was dying before she'd even really lived. A baby who would know love for 3 to 5 years and then know nothing at all. This is too much, he said quietly. I can't do this. You can. You will. Katerina's voice hardened. Because the alternative is abandoning her. putting her in a facility where she will die alone and unloved. Is that what you want? Of course not. Then you will do what must be done. You will love her. You will care for her. You will make her short life meaningful. And when the time comes, you will let her go with grace. How can you be so calm about this? Because I have already lost everyone I loved, Katerina said simply. Nikolai, my mother, my childhood. I know how to carry grief. You will learn. The baby made a small sound. Not distress, just the tiny noises newborns make. Both of them looked toward the incubator. Who sent the texts? Jay asked. What texts? He showed her the phone. Katerina's expression darkened as she read. Someone who wants you afraid. Someone who knows enough to hurt you. She looked up. Your mother? The tone is wrong. Too direct. Then someone working for her. Or someone else entirely. You have made many enemies today, Jay. The Volkov family, the Moon organization. David Sterling's family will want revenge when they discover what happened. You said it was handled. His death was handled. His family's reaction cannot be controlled. Katerina took the phone, powered it down, removed the SIM. This is compromised. I will give you another one. And when we land, we change the plan. What do you mean? Oslo is compromised if they know where we are going. So we do not stay in Oslo. We stop there long enough to refuel, file false flight plans, then continue to somewhere else. Where? Iceland. Reykjavik. Remote. Difficult to reach. Difficult to surveil. I have a safe house there. Medical facilities. Everything you need. For how long? For as long as it takes. As long as what takes? Katerina met his eyes. As long as it takes for everyone who wants you dead to forget you exist. The implication settled over him like a shroud. They weren't running toward something. They were running away. And they might be running forever. What about your plan? Jay asked. Taking down your father? Destroying the Volkov organization? That can wait. Right now, keeping you alive is more important. Why? The question seemed to surprise her. Why what? Why do you care if I live or die? You got what you wanted. My mother weakened, your wedding canceled, my family in chaos. You could walk away, go back to Moscow, execute whatever plan you have for your father. Why stay involved? Katerina was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was softer than he'd ever heard it. Because Nikolai would have wanted me to. He was good, Jay. Genuinely good. He believed people could be saved, could be better, and when he died, that belief died with him. Or I thought it did. She looked toward the incubator. But that baby, dying or not, genetically manipulated or not, she is innocent, pure. And maybe if I can keep her safe, keep you safe, keep Nala comfortable in her last months, maybe Nikolai's goodness did not die completely. Maybe some small part of it lives on in me. It was the most human thing Jay had ever heard her say. Thank you, he said quietly. Do not thank me yet. The hard parts are still coming. The jet flew on through darkness, carrying its cargo of broken people and impossible choices toward a country made of ice and fire, where maybe, they could find some temporary peace. Behind them, in Seoul, Madame Moon stood in the ruins of her estate, surrounded by Dmitry Volkov's men, and smiled. They thought they'd escaped. They thought they'd won. But she'd been playing this game for 40 years, and she always had one more move. She pulled out her phone, dialed a number in Reykjavik. They are coming to you, she said when someone answered. The baby, my son, the American woman. You know what to do. A pause, then a response she couldn't hear from outside the conversation. Madame Moon's smile widened. No, she said. I do not want them killed. Not yet. I want them to suffer first. I want my son to watch everyone he loves die. I want him broken completely. Then, and only then, you may eliminate them. She hung up. The estate burned behind her. Dimitri's men had been thorough. But she didn't care. Buildings could be rebuilt. Money could be recovered. Empires could be resurrected. But her son's betrayal? That required something special. That required blood. Reykjavik appeared through the clouds like something from a dream. Volcanic peaks dusted with snow. The Atlantic crashing against black sand beaches. A city that looked carved from stone and light. The jet descended through clear Nordic morning, touching down at Keflavik International Airport at 6:43 a.m. local time. Jay hadn't slept. Neither had Nala. They'd spent the last hours of the flight in silence, holding hands across the aisle while nurses monitored the baby's every breath. The baby who had 3 to 5 years. The baby who was genetically his sister. The baby who was also somehow his daughter. The baby who still didn't have a name. "We should call her something," Nala said as the jet taxied to a private hangar. "She can't just be the baby forever." "What did you have in mind?" Nala was quiet for a moment. "Amara. It means grace in Igbo. My grandmother's name." She looked at the incubator. "She's going to need all the grace she can get." "Amara Moon." Jay tested the name. It felt right, solid, real. "I like it." "Amara Moon James." Nala corrected gently. "She should have both of us in her name. Both families. Both histories." "Even if both families are disasters?" "Especially then. She should know where she comes from, even the broken parts." The jet stopped. The engines wound down. Katerina appeared from the forward cabin, now dressed in civilian clothes, jeans, a heavy sweater, a parka. She looked almost normal, almost human. "There's a car waiting," she said. "Medical van for the baby. Private car for us. The safe house is 40 minutes outside the city. Remote. Secure." "How secure?" Jay asked. "Enough." Katerina's expression was guarded. "But we cannot stay long. My contacts tell me your mother has activated assets in Iceland. I do not know what kind yet, but we should assume she knows we are here." "Then why did we come?" "Because we had to land somewhere to refuel. Because Oslo was compromised. Because I needed time to think." She looked out the window at the volcanic landscape. "Iceland is neutral ground. No organized crime families with territory claims. No extradition treaties with South Korea. It buys us time." "Time for what?" "Time to decide what we do next." A ground crew opened the jet's door. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of salt and sulfur. Iceland smelled like the edge of the world. They moved Amara first, carefully, slowly, the incubator secured in the medical van. Then Nala, still weak, still in pain, loaded into a wheelchair and covered with blankets. Jay stood on the tarmac, breathing air that burned his lungs with its purity, and felt the weight of everything finally crash down on him. 24 hours ago, he'd been at a wedding. Now he was a fugitive in Iceland with a dying woman, a dying baby, and a Russian assassin as his only ally. Mr. Moon? One of Katerina's people, a local man, blond and broad-shouldered, gestured toward the waiting car. "We should go, quickly." They drove through landscape that looked like another planet. Black volcanic rock stretched to the horizon, broken by patches of moss so green it hurt to look at. Steam rose from cracks in the earth. The sky was impossibly vast. The safe house was a modern structure built into a hillside, all glass and stone and angles designed to withstand Arctic winds. Solar panels on the roof, geothermal heating, a medical room that had clearly been prepared in advance, NICU equipment, hospital bed, enough supplies to sustain them for weeks. "How long have you been planning this?" Jay asked as they got Amara settled. "Since I agreed to marry you," Katerina said, "I always have contingency plans, always." "Even for this?" "Especially for this. I knew your mother would not let you go easily. Knew there would be complications. So I prepared." She pulled out a tablet, brought up surveillance feeds. "I have cameras monitoring the perimeter, motion sensors, armed security rotating every 6 hours. No one gets close without us knowing." It should have felt safe. It didn't. Because Madame Moon had spent 28 years being 10 steps ahead of everyone. If she wanted them, she'd find a way. The first 3 days in Iceland passed in a strange kind of peace. Nala grew stronger, the change of environment, the clean air, the excellent palliative care Katerina had arranged. She was able to spend hours with Amara, holding her, talking to her, singing Nigerian lullabies her own grandmother had sung. Amara gained weight. 4 ounces, then 6. Her breathing stabilized, the apnea episodes decreased. For 3 days, they pretended this could last. On the 4th day, everything fell apart. Jay woke at 4 a.m. to alarms. Katerina was already up, dressed, armed, studying security feeds with an expression that made his stomach drop. "What is it?" "Movement on the perimeter, 3 vehicles. Professional approach pattern." She zoomed in on grainy footage. 8 people, maybe more. Well-armed, well-trained. Your father's people? No, I would recognize my father's tactics. This is someone else. She looked at him. Your mother. That's impossible. How would she even— Money buys anything, including private intelligence firms who can track jet tail numbers and file false flight plans and bribe airport officials. Katerina was already moving, grabbing equipment, preparing. We have maybe 10 minutes before they breach the house. We can't move Amara, she's too fragile. Then we do not move her. We make our stand here. Nala appeared in the doorway, leaning heavily on the wall. What's happening? We're about to have visitors, Jay said. You need to get back to the medical room. Stay with Amara. Lock the door. I'm not hiding well. This isn't negotiable. His voice was harder than he'd ever used with her. You're weak. You can't fight. The best thing you can do is protect our daughter. Their daughter. The words settled something between them. Nala nodded, turned back toward the medical room. Jay looked at Katerina. Do we have weapons? She smiled grimly, opened a cabinet. Inside, rifles, handguns, ammunition, body armor. Enough to outfit a small army. I told you, always prepared. They armed up quickly. Jay had been trained. Every Moon Heir learned how to handle weapons, but it had been years since he had held a gun with intent to use it. His hands remembered. Positions, Katerina ordered. You take the east approach. I will take west. If they breach— Glass shattered. Multiple windows. Smoke grenades hissed, filling the room with choking white clouds. They're already in. Jay dropped low, moving on instinct, rifle up. Shapes moved through the smoke. Tactical gear, night vision, military. Precision. Not Madame Moon's usual style. Not her people at all. The smoke cleared enough for Jay to see the face of the man leading the breach team. Kang, his mother's enforcer. The man who'd killed for her for 20 years. The man who was apparently Jay's half-brother. Hello, little brother, Kang rumbled in Korean. Mother sends her regards. Jay fired. The shot went wide. Intentionally or not, he couldn't tell. Kang dove behind furniture, returned fire. Bullets tore through walls, through glass, through the careful illusion of safety they'd built. Katerina appeared from the west corridor, firing with mechanical precision. One of Kang's team went down, then another, but there were too many. Fall back, Katerina shouted, to the medical room. They retreated, fighting every step. Jay's ears rang from gunfire. His shoulder burned, grazed by a bullet, shallow but bleeding. Behind them, the medical room door was reinforced steel, designed to be defensible. They made it inside, slammed the door, engaged the locks. Nala sat in the corner, holding Amara against her chest, the baby miraculously still sleeping through the chaos. Her eyes were wide with terror, but her hands were steady. How long can we hold? Jay asked. Not long, Katerina said grimly. They will breach within minutes. And when they do— The door shuddered. Someone was placing charges. There's another way out, Nala said suddenly. The tunnels. Both of them turned to her. What tunnels? Katerina demanded. Geothermal tunnels. I saw them on the house plans in the medical files. This house is built over an old lava tube system. There's an access point in the equipment closet. Katerina moved immediately, pulling open the closet. There, hidden behind medical supplies, a hatch in the floor. Where does it lead? Jay asked. According to the plans, to a maintenance station 2 kilometers from here. From there, vehicle access to Reykjavik. The door shuttered again. The charges would blow any second. Go, Katerina said. Both of you, take the baby. I will hold them here. You'll die, Jay said. Probably, but you will live. That is the trade. I'm not leaving you. You do not have a choice. Katerina grabbed him, shoved him toward the hatch. Nayla is dying. Amara is dying. You are the only one who can save either of them. So you will run. You will hide. You will give them whatever time they have left, and you will not waste it arguing with me. Tears burned Jay's eyes. Why are you doing this? Because someone should get a happy ending. Katerina smiled sad and soft. Even if I cannot. The door exploded. Katerina turned toward it, weapons raised. Jay grabbed Nala and Amara, pulled them into the tunnel. The hatch slammed shut above them, and the last thing he heard was gunfire. The tunnels were darkness and stone and the smell of ancient earth. Jay had a flashlight from the emergency supplies. It barely cut through the black. They moved as fast as Nala could manage, which wasn't fast. She was deteriorating rapidly, the stress and exertion burning through her remaining strength, but she didn't complain. Just kept moving, one hand clutching Amara to her chest, the other gripping Jay's arm. Behind them, distant gunfire stopped. Either Katerina had won, or Katerina was dead. Jay kept moving. The tunnel opened into a maintenance station. Concrete walls, a generator, a vehicle. Old Land Rover, keys in the ignition. Katerina had thought of everything. They loaded into the car. Amara started crying, finally awake, finally aware something was wrong. "Shh, baby girl," Nala whispered, rocking her. "Shh, Mama's here. Daddy's here. We've got you." Mama, Daddy. The words shouldn't have fit, but they did. Jay drove toward Reykjavik through pre-dawn darkness, no destination in mind except away. Away from the safe house, away from Kang, away from Madame Moon's reaching fingers. "Where do we go?" Nala asked quietly. "I don't know. We can't run, forever." "I know. Jay." She reached across, touched his face. "We need to end this, really end it, or she'll hunt us until we're all dead." "How do we end it?" Nala was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady, certain. "We give her what she wants." "What?" "She wants control. She wants the baby. She wants you broken." Nala shifted Amara in her arms. "So we give her everything, and we make it cost her everything." "I don't understand." "You will?" Nala pulled out her phone, different phone, one Katerina had given her. "But first, we need to make a call." "To who?" "To your mother, and we're going to offer her a deal she can't refuse." Madame Moon answered on the first ring. "Nala James," she said pleasantly. "I was wondering when you would call." "Let's skip the pleasantries," Nala said. "You want the baby, we want safety. Let's negotiate." "I am listening." "We'll meet you. Neutral location, public. You get to see Amara, confirm she's healthy, and we discuss terms." "What terms?" "Jay walks away, completely. You leave him alone. In exchange, he signs over all parental rights. You become Amara's legal guardian. She gets raised in the Moon family. You get your genetic legacy." Silence on the other end. Then, "Why would I agree to this? I can simply take the baby and kill all of you." "You could try," Nala said, "but we have insurance. Evidence of everything you've done. Murder, poisoning, embezzlement. All of it ready to be released to your rival families if anything happens to us. Katerina made sure of it before." Her voice caught. "Before." Another pause. "Where and when?" "Hallgrímskirkja, the church in Reykjavik. Tomorrow at noon. Public. Witnesses. Safe for everyone." "How do I know you will honor this deal?" "Because I'm dying," Nala said simply. "I have 4 months left, maybe less. I want to spend that time knowing my daughter is safe, even if safe means with you, even if it means I never see her again." Madame Moon's laugh was soft, appreciative. "You are braver than I gave you credit for." "Very well. Tomorrow, noon." "But Nala, if this is a trap, I will make Jay watch while I dissect you piece by piece." "Understood." The line went dead. Jay stared at Nala. "What are you doing?" "Ending this," she said, "one way or another." "You can't seriously be planning to give Amara to my mother? I'm planning to give your mother exactly what she deserves." Nala's smile was grim. "Trust me." Hallgrímskirkja stood like a rocket ship frozen mid-launch, its white concrete tower visible from anywhere in Reykjavik. The church was famous, iconic, filled with tourists even on a cold November morning. Perfect neutral ground. Jay and Nala arrived early, Amara bundled against the Arctic cold. She'd been fed, changed, was sleeping peacefully in Nala's arms. To anyone watching, they looked like a normal family visiting a landmark. No one would have guessed they were about to hand a baby over to a crime lord. Madame Moon arrived at exactly noon, Kang beside her, 2 additional bodyguards flanking them. She wore a crimson coat, her signature color, and walked through the church doors like she owned the building. Maybe she did. They met in front of the altar. Tourists took photos, unaware of the drama unfolding in their midst. Jae-Sung, Madame Moon said warmly. My son, you look terrible. Mother. Her eyes shifted to Nala, then to the bundle in Nala's arms. May I? Nala hesitated, then carefully transferred Amara into Madame Moon's waiting hands. For a moment, watching his mother hold his sister-daughter, Jay saw something almost human in her expression. Wonder, joy, love, even. She is perfect, Madame Moon whispered. Absolutely perfect. She has Tay-Sachs disease, Nala said quietly. 3 to 5 years, you should know that before you agree to take her. Madame Moon's expression didn't change. I know, I designed her that way. The words hit like a bomb. What? Jay's voice was barely audible. Did you think it was accident? Coincidence? Madame Moon looked at him, smiling. I chose those genetic markers deliberately. A child who would live long enough to be loved, to be perfect but not long enough to betray me, not long enough to grow into rebellion. The perfect legacy, beautiful and tragic and completely under my control until the very end. Nala lunged. She moved faster than someone dying should be able to move, pulling something from her coat, a syringe filled with clear liquid. She stabbed it into Madame Moon's neck and pressed the plunger. Madame Moon staggered, dropping Amara. Jay caught the baby, pulling her against his chest, and grabbed at the syringe. What did you... Ricin, Nala said calmly. Extracted from castor beans. Lethal dose. You have maybe 3 days before organ failure. Maybe less. Kang moved, reaching for his weapon, but he stopped. Because every tourist in the church had suddenly produced a gun, not tourists at all. Katarina's people, positioned over the last 12 hours, waiting. And there in the doorway, looking bruised and bloodied but very much alive, Katarina. Hello, Sarah, Katarina said pleasantly. Surprise, I did not die. And now, neither do you, at least not quickly. Madame Moon fell to her knees, clutching her neck. You poisoned me. The same way you poisoned your husband, your son, everyone who got in your way. Nala crouched beside her, her voice hard. How does it feel? Knowing you're dying? Knowing there's no antidote? Knowing you'll spend your last days watching everything you built collapse? I will kill you. You'll do nothing. You're already dead. You just don't know it yet. Security was coming now, real security drawn by the commotion. Katarina's people melted away like ghosts. Jay, Nala, and Amara walked out of the church into cold Nordic sunlight. Behind them, Madame Moon screamed. 4 months later, the house in northern Iceland was small, warm, filled with light and the sound of the ocean. Nala sat in a chair by the window, impossibly thin now, her body barely more than bones and will. But she was smiling. Because in her arms, Amara, 5 months old now, impossibly alive, impossibly thriving, giggled and reached for her face. She's getting so big, Nala whispered. She is, Jay agreed from the doorway. I won't, her voice broke. I won't see her first birthday. I know. But you will. You'll see everything. First words, first steps, all of it. Tears slipped down Nala's cheeks. Promise me you'll tell her about me, the real me, not just the good parts, all of it. I promise. Promise me you'll tell her she was loved, so completely, even when it was complicated. I promise. Promise me. She stopped, gasping. The cancer had spread to her lungs now. Every breath was a fight. Promise me, when the time comes, when Amara starts to deteriorate, you'll make it gentle. You won't let her suffer. Jay's throat was too tight to speak. He nodded. Nala smiled. Good. She looked down at Amara. You're going to have such an amazing daddy, baby girl. He's going to love you so much. He's going to make your whole life beautiful. Amara giggled again, grabbing Nala's finger. I love you, Nala said. Both of you. So much. 3 weeks later, she died. Quietly, in her sleep. Jay holding her hand. The funeral was small. Just Jay, Amara, Selene, and Katarina, who'd stayed somehow, become part of the strange, broken family. They scattered Nala's ashes in the Atlantic, as she'd requested, and Jay went home to raise a daughter who would die before kindergarten. 2 years later, Amara's second birthday party was everything Jay could make it. Balloons, cake, her favorite songs. She was walking now, stumbling on toddler legs, laughing with pure joy. She didn't know yet. Didn't know she was dying. Didn't know that in another year, maybe 2, her body would start failing. All she knew was love. Dada! She ran. To him, arms up. Up! He picked her up, held her close, breathing in the baby shampoo smell of her hair. I've got you, baby girl, he whispered. I've got you. Selene took photos. Katerina helped with cake. They'd built this together, this temporary, fragile, beautiful family. That night, after Amara was asleep, Jay sat with the box Nala had left him. Inside, letters. One for every year of Amara's life. To be opened on birthdays. He opened the one marked Age 2. Dearest Jay, if you're reading this, I've been gone for over a year. I hope it was gentle. I hope you're okay. Amara is 2 now, old enough to have a personality, old enough to be her own person. I wish I could see who she's becoming. But I know you're showing her. I know you're making every moment count. Here's what I need you to remember. Her life isn't measured in years. It's measured in love. And you're giving her more love than most people get in a full lifetime. When the hard days come, when she starts to deteriorate, remember that you're giving her the greatest gift, a gentle exit, a peaceful end. No fear, just love. You're the best father she could have asked for. You're the best man I ever knew. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for making our impossible story beautiful. All my love, always. Nala Jay sat in the dark house, listening to Amara's soft breathing from the baby monitor, and cried. For Nala, for Amara, for the impossible choices that had brought them all here, for the time they had left. And in the morning, he woke up and chose love again. He always would, for as long as they both lived.